Here we go, team. All right. So I'm really glad that you're here today. We have all met, but if anybody is, I don't know what it's telling me. Okay, I'm glad I can control my mic with my, I don't need to know that right now. But if anybody's watching this recording and we haven't met yet, my name is Allison Dalkey, and I'm so glad you're here. This is the fourth bonus part to a 3-part Your Path to Purpose workshop that we started last week. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, that's totally okay. So we're going to create an 8-week plan for you right now to help you get where you want to go. So here's my question for you today. What if today is the day that everything changes? Isn't that like such a hope-filled question? I love it. I hope you love it too. And I hope it gets your wheels turning. If you do not have paper and pencil, I highly recommend it today because I'm going to ask you to do a lot of brainstorming. I was an 8th grade English teacher. Well, I taught senior English too, but so there's a lot of like writing teacher in me. And if you haven't ever noticed that over the years, it's definitely there. It's in my bones and I just can't help it. We're going to do some brainstorming today. So what if the areas in your life that you have wanted to improve for a long time, the things that you've wanted to be better, what if those things started changing today? Here's the thing. They can. That is the goal of this workshop. We're going to create an 8-week plan of growth and change that you can implement right now, that you can start right now. So I love this quote. It says, it's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's what you do that ultimately brings positive change in your life. And that is why today we are focused on a plan of growth that has action steps and intentionality in it. So we're going to start with some prep work. I'm going to share my screen with you in just a minute. But here is sort of the question that I asked you last week that still matters, and it's going to continue to matter over and over again for a very long time, is that we like this. The question is, what do you ultimately want? What do you want? We talked last week about how Jesus actually asked the blind man Bartimaeus, what is it that you want me to do for you? Even though Jesus was fully aware that this man was blind and would obviously love to be healed, right? But it is often in us actually expressing the things that we want. We talked a lot last week about the desires of our heart and how those desires were put there by God, but how we often have told ourselves that those are selfish. We don't have time for those things. We're not good enough for those things. The enemy gets in our mind and says, who do you think you are that you could do something like that? All these lies, right? So we have to decide what we want. What do you really want your life to be about? Here's a question that I love that I prepped everybody inside the Dreaming Co with as we're prepping for our mastermind groups, which will be centered all around this 8-week plan. I said, what would add joy and purpose into your days? I love this because I think sometimes when we think about growing and changing, we are often focused on maybe negative aspects that we want to make better. And that's an okay thing. It is okay. It's an okay thing to look at weak places in our life and make them stronger. That is how we grow. But when we only do that and we're not looking at joy and we're not looking at celebration and we're not looking at the things that really would light us up, we're missing out on a key element of life. And that really is joy and pleasure and community. So what would add joy and purpose into your days? Another good question that I love as you're pondering this, and really as I'm asking questions, the best thing for you to do, one of the greatest, I actually just wrote this in a journal prompt yesterday, one of the greatest ways to defeat that, like the itty bitty crappy committee in your head, is to just write freely and fastly. Like when you can just write very quickly right off the top of your head, you're oftentimes getting what you actually think without having time for that voice to go, why do you think you could do that? Or who do you think you are, right? We're not going to listen to that. So we're going to write as quickly as you can. So as I'm asking you questions, if some crazy, bizarre idea jumps in your mind, just write it down. I'm not saying you have to commit to that, but like, just write it down. Maybe you want to learn how to windsurf. Maybe you want to go rock climbing. I don't know. Like, write it down. Okay. So, the other question I was going to ask you, what cry of your heart are you ignoring? This is such a powerful one. I think sometimes there is this ache in our heart for more purpose or more peace or more vision, whatever it is in our lives, something that we want, and we just sort of ignore it out of fear or whatever. What cry of your heart are you ignoring? Because here's the thing, we can't go someplace that we have not yet envisioned, right? We have to know what we want in our life to move forward. So we did so much of that prep work last week, and I want you to kind of take some of that today. But we're going to do some digging up of desires and recognizing new ones. So I want you to think a little bit about, here's what we're trying to get at. I'm trying to get you to identify areas that you want to create a path of growth in. Okay. Fun, practical, intentional, whatever they may be. Maybe you want to have a renewed mindset around your finances and your finance management. Maybe you want to do work that you love. Maybe you want to lose fat and gain muscle. I want you to write, I'd love for you to do this. I want you to write maybe like 6 times the words I want, just in a row. And then I just want you to fill in the blanks as quickly as you can. Don't let that itty bitty crappy committee in your head start to tell you that that's stupid. Just, what do you want? I don't care how silly it sounds to you. I want. You're doing such good writing. I wish you were here. It's raining. I can hear the rain hitting the roof. You could be cozied up on the couch. I want. This is a really practical and helpful exercise. It's actually something that comes up in our journal prompts and the Dreaming Co. over and over and over again, because it is repetition that brings revelation oftentimes. Those thoughts come into our head initially and we kind of discard them and we think that they are silly or fanciful or whatever, and they're not. Okay, I want you to kind of set that aside. You can also continue to write I wants as much as you want. I actually think we have a journal prompt that has 20 I want statements that you just have to fill in. 20. So, I mean, you can say as many as you want. I just pulled out the number 6. It doesn't really mean anything. You might have more or less than that. But I want you to shift a little bit, and I want us to do a very brief and quick evaluation. So I'm going to give you some of the main categories of your life. Okay. So I'm going to have you write like the basis of it. The first one's environment. So I want you to write the word environment, and I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being it's horrible, I hate it here. 10 being it's the best place ever, right? Rate your physical environment. And this could be in your work environment. It could be your home, whatever space you spend the most time, essentially, your overall environment. Give yourself a rating, 1 to 10, very quickly. The next one I want you to do are your finances. Put a money symbol, or you can write finances, and then rate yourself 1 to 10. Next, your physical health. 1 to 10. Next one. This one often gets very low ratings. Recreation. What is that? Fun, hobbies, recreation. Rated 1 to 10. Your relationships. You might have a very specific one in mind, or it might just be all your relationships in general. Your relationships, rate them 1 to 10. Relationships in general in your life. Your identity. How do you see yourself? Rate it 1 to 10. 2 more. Your emotional and mental health. I grouped them together. They're not the same, but they are, and they're related. Emotional and mental health, 1 to 10. And then your spiritual health, 1 to 10. So we talked environment, finances, your physical health, recreation, fun, relationships, identity, emotional and mental health, and spiritual health. So 8 main areas of your life you gave yourself a rating. Now, as we're looking at creating a growth plan for you, here's what I want you to think about. We did some I wants. These are the desires of our hearts. We're talking about the low scoring places in our life right now. we're going to create a plan to grow anywhere from 1 to 3 areas over the next 8 weeks. Now, you might be thinking 3, like, how am I going to make progress on 3? That seems crazy. Actually, the way that we're going to create your 8-week plan is going to help compartmentalize and create space and time for growth in each of these areas. So if there really are 3 things that you want to grow in this season, that's great. Maybe there's just one big one. That's also great. The point is we're narrowing in and getting into a place where we're saying, this is really where I want to see myself grow. Okay. So I want to show you, let me attempt to share my screen with you. Let's see if I can. I'm not actually going to do presentation mode because heck, hold on. I've done this 100 times. Where's it at? Tiffany, I think that if more than one feels I found it. If more than one feels overwhelming for you, then that's fine. I think it's very important that you know you and that you recognize, like, this might be a little bit too much for me. That's okay. Okay. If I present this, it's gonna. Okay, great. So here's what I want you to do. These are all of I want you to sort of make a brain map. This would be like old school growth brainstorming. Like, we're going to make a brainstorm session right here, right now of areas you could possibly grow. You're not committing to any of these. Okay. But this might be from your want list. This might be from your low scoring list. So like mine are all over the place. Cultivate the gardens out and the outside space at our house. Plan a family trip. Find a church home. Catch up financially and legally. Book speaking engagements. Learn embroidery. Look at me being fun. Memories this summer. Start a supper club. I actually put that on there. I already did that, but it's just a really good one. Stronger body. Create a formal business plan for the flower farm. Grow the Dreaming Co. So these are kind of like the areas I thought I wanted to grow or things that I wanted. Okay. So I want you to just do this. This is supposed to be messy. We talked last week about how growth is messy and the process of growing intentionally is messy. That's okay. I want it to look messy. And you may be at this point being like, I don't really know. Maybe you know exactly. That's okay too. So once you have kind of done this, then I really want you to narrow in and be like, okay, this is the thing I really, really want to do. The one thing or the 3 things, right? This is really what I want to put my focus on over the next 8 weeks. You have 2 solid months, 8 weeks to make progress in one or several areas in your life. So I circled mine. This is also a great practice because you can come back to this later after your 8 weeks are up and say, I'm going to do it again. Actually, inside the Dreaming Co., we are doing an 8-week mastermind session all centered around this right now. We're getting ready to start. It'll run May and June. But after this, we will do we will always run our growth plan around a 12-week calendar. I don't know how to let this person in. Hold on. Nope. Don't know how to do it. Oh, I got to make this big again. It's not very intuitive sometimes. Okay, here you go. There you go. All right. So once you have kind of narrowed in on your spaces, here's the next step in the process. I want you to take one of those areas and I want you to download every single thought you have, positive, negative, good, or bad, about that area of growth. Mine was really about growing the Dreaming Co. This is, I'm walking you through this process because this is the process I walked through several weeks ago when I finally decided to be a big girl and actually treat this like what I wanted it to be treated like. So this is literally the things that were running through my head. I hate selling on social media. The Dreaming Co. is this super special place I love. I don't want to taint it, essentially. I don't want it to be overwhelming for me. What if I can't handle it? What are people going to think? These are all the stupid things I've thought. I want you to download every thought. whatever thought you have right now running through your mind, maybe it's something really crappy like, I've tried to lose weight, or I've tried to get my finances in order, or I'm horrible at managing our money, or whatever thing you're thinking, write it down. Doing a thought download. So much of this process is about identifying our thoughts. We talked last week in our workshop about how thoughts become things in our life. Sometimes the reason we have not been able to make progress in an area is because we don't have our mind under control. We're believing lies that actually lack truth, or we don't have the tools to create more positive experiences. And so the more thoughts that you can get down, the more we can create a solid forward plan. Okay. Okay. Now, thoughts become things, right? We have to renew our mind. The Bible says that we're to take captive every thought and put it under the authority of Christ, right? So we have to intentionally renew our mind and change the thoughts that we're thinking if we want to make progress in these areas. Okay. So I'm going to show you how. How do we do that? Okay. This is one of the most transformational tools that I have ever seen. I kind of mentioned this last week about how we can't take our thoughts from, I hate selling online, so that would be, if I were to put that on an emotional scale, I would say it's between, like, honestly, it's between anger and frustration for me. Like, I hate it. Okay. But I can't just go from that place of frustration. Like, I don't like selling online, to joy. Like, I can't just jump all of these pieces of the scale. Now, I want to say this as a caveat. This is a very small emotional scale. There are so many more emotions than this. One of the tools we're going to start using inside the Dreaming Co is a feelings wheel, which is massively bigger than this. But this is a very simple tool to help you recognize what you're feeling about one thing or the other, about wherever you want to make progress. And then here's the key. We can only go one step at a time. So how do we do that? So let me give you an example. So what was on my thing? What if people get sick of hearing about it? So this is me talking about growing the Dreaming Co. What if people get sick of me talking about it on social media, right? This is a fear. What if people get sick of me talking about it? So here's how this works. And I can't wait for you to learn this skill. Also, this is all from Dana Wilde's Train Your Brain book, which it's really kind of a book for direct sailors, is I think what she wrote it for. It's got some phenomenal, incredible psychological truth in it. Anyways, okay, so let's say, what if people get sick of hearing me talk about it online? So that's fear, right? I'm right here in this fear scale. So I can move to the next step. I can go to anger. I can then say to myself, well, that's stupid. Like, that makes me mad. I don't care if people are tired of hearing about it. I want to share this thing that I love, right? So I can get a little bit irritated about it. Then I can choose to go to frustration. And I can say, well, it frustrates me that I don't feel like I'm good at selling online. Okay, here's where I'm getting to. Or I'm frustrated that I would even think that people would get sick of hearing it when I love it so much. Okay. I'm really doing all of this off the cuff, which is the point. So how do I go from frustration to hope? I'm frustrated that people might get tired of hearing about it. But, and this is the key, we have to transition to the next part of the scale. But I am hopeful that if I share enough, the right people will find their home inside the Dreaming Co. So I've gone from fear, being scared that people are going to get sick of me saying this, to anger. Well, that's dumb. They shouldn't. Like, it might be, that might be indifference, but that's my anchor. Like, don't be stupid. To frustration. I'm frustrated that I feel this way. I'm frustrated that I'm worried about this. I'm frustrated that, some people might think I'm talking about it too much. But I'm hopeful that if I continue to share about it in an authentic way, that the right people will find their home inside the Dreaming Co. Literally changes my mood and the way that I feel just by the words that I'm saying. I'm training my brain to do what I want it to do. So what does this look like for you? I want you to take one of those thoughts from your thought download, whatever it is, and I want you to recognize, where is it on this scale? Am I fearful? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? Am I hopeful? Do I have belief? Do I know this to be true? Or is there joy? Where are you at? You're probably not on the right side of the scale if this is something we want to grow in, right? Let me give you one more example, and then I want to maybe open it up for a second. I really, last year when we started the flower farm, I neglected like the garden behind my house, and it kind of made me mad because it was like such a special place to me. And so I'm just really frustrated by it right now. So I can say I'm really frustrated that I neglected my outdoor space last year, but I'm hopeful because I now have a plan moving forward on how I want to design it. Then I can also move to belief. And I believe that once I schedule time to get it done, that then I will be able to execute and make it happen day by day. So I'm slowly moving myself from frustration to hope to belief, right? To eventually joy when I get it all done, a little bit by a little bit. Okay, is this resonating? I want to open it up. Do any of you have questions or comments, or you think I'm absolutely crazy? Oh, whatever you want to say. Uh-oh, what did I do? Am I still sharing my screen? Yes. Okay, great. Nothing? Y'all got nothing? It's totally fine if you have nothing. You want me to keep going? Does this make sense? Okay. Y'all are so quiet. Unless you're trying to talk and I can't tell. Yes, you can still, this is a great question. Can you still choose an area to grow in if you are at hopeful? Absolutely. Yes. And that's a great place to be, because we're going to go from hopeful to belief. The way we're going to get to belief is through our actions. So I'm hopeful right now about whatever. Like I actually am very hopeful about my gardens, like, because I sort of have this plan in place. But it's the actions that are going to take me to belief. And then our actions prove whatever it is to be true. Like, I did the thing I said I was going to do. Therefore, I know I can execute this. And now I have joy because I actually have my garden back. Does that make sense? So yes, you can still do it if you're hopeful. Kim says, this gives me a new perspective on taking my thoughts captive. I honestly have a screenshot of this on my phone. I use this with my kids. I use it with my 18-year-old. I use it with my 9-year-old, and all of them in between. We talk about it too whenever, we were at pole vaulting last week, and I tell my daughter, they hear me say thoughts become things every day. Thoughts become things. If we are angry, we're going to continue to sit in that anger, but we can move to frustrated. We can move to hope. So I've taught them to slowly walk their emotions up. So it's like, first we have to recognize where we are, then we can slowly walk our emotions up. If you're kind of looking at me like, okay, I like this, but I'm not sure I'm fully getting it, that's okay. In mastermind groups inside the Dreaming Co, we're going to really dive into this even more and talk about this a lot. Okay, so we now have our thought download. Then we have this emotional scale where we're going to rewrite this thought and create a new thought pattern. Okay. Uh-oh. Where am I? Oh, here we go. I think I have to do. No, we want to go forward. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create an intentional thought cycle. So what's a thought cycle? So a thought cycle is when I have a positive thought. Okay, we're going to get rid of the negative thoughts. We're rewriting them with more positive language. I'm going to take a positive thought. That thought that positive thought produces a feeling. So when I have a positive thought, I'm operating in this on the like from the hope to the joy scale on this emotional scale. Okay. So I have a positive thought that hopefully starts with hope or higher. And then that positive thought produces a feeling, right? So the thought produces the feeling is what produces the action. That's why I say thoughts become things. Because if I continue to say I'm horrible at managing my finances, guess what? That produces a feeling that makes me feel unworthy and not great, right? Like I'm incapable of doing it. Produces an action that causes me to continue to procrastinate or not face my finances, whatever the situation might be. And then I end up with a result, both internally, which is how I feel. I'm continuing to feel really bad about this thing because I can't get a hold on it. And the result externally is that my finances continue to be junk because I'm not taking care of them, because I'm not taking care of my mind. I can instead start with a positive thought. Here's where the emotional skill matters a lot. Again, I can't go from anger and fear and just jump to joy. It doesn't work like that. I have to move up the scale. So let's say I really am frustrated by my finances, but I recently downloaded a new, I don't know. I downloaded a new app. I have no idea. I'm just making stuff up. Downloaded a new app that's brought me some hope that maybe I can manage them in a better way moving forward. And so we're just slowly moving piece by piece up the emotional scale. Okay. So I'm not lying to myself and saying I'm great at my finances when I have no proof of that up to this point. Right? That's why sometimes goals don't work. It's because we try to like hustle or believe or affirm ourselves into something. And while I love the positive thought process there, our brains are pretty spectacular. And they also know when you're lying to yourself, which is why we have to take those thoughts captive and slowly move up the emotional scale. So I have struggled in my finances for the past couple years, but I'm learning a new skill and I'm hopeful that I will be able to take them under control soon. So then let's say this. So maybe this is what your positive thought is right now. I'm hopeful that I am going to become better at my finances. We're then about to, we're going to in just a second, put into place a system to create action steps weekly for you to make that happen. Once you have some positive affirmation, like you have done the thing and you can say, I actually logged into the app every day for 6 days, right? And I checked on my finances and I didn't run from them and I managed. You then can move to belief. So literally in the span of a week or less, I can move, not just like move with my thoughts, but actually move with my actions too. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're going to create an intentional thought cycle. That's where you're going to take that negative thought that you have. You're going to recognize where it is on this scale. You're going to work yourself up slowly, the emotional scale, create a positive thought. This is going to produce a feeling that produces an action. And then we get a different result internally and externally than if we start with a negative thought. Okay. All right. Questions up to this point? You can unmute. You can put it in the chat. If you don't have questions, that's fine too. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to make a plan. So in our plan creation, I want you can see this is the one I'm talking about right here. I'm making a plan to grow the Dreaming Co. Okay. Here are the rules. I'm going to create a singular statement that is specific and measurable. I'm going to state it positively. So I'm going to focus on what I want to happen that's positive. I'm not going to say, instead of saying I'm going to quit drinking, I'm going to say I'm becoming a non-drinker, if this was your goal, obviously. Or instead of saying, like, you're just going to praise whatever it is that you want to grow in the most positive way that you can. And if you can put it into an identity space, like the same. So maybe instead of like, I want to lose 15 pounds. It's actually a specific and measurable goal. It's not bad, but instead we can make it more identity driven. And I would say, well, how are you going to lose 15 pounds? Well, I want to learn how to lift weights. And I want to learn how to eat better, like fuel my body with good food. Okay. So you could switch your positive statement into, I'm going to become a weightlifter, or I'm going to become somebody who fuels my body with good nutrition, whatever. Okay. Number 3 of the rules, it has to be a realistic stretch, meaning if nothing changed over the 8 weeks and you still made it happen, you have not really, this is not growing. This is something you're just already doing, and that's great. So we want to have a realistic stretch. The other side is true also. If it's something that is just not, there's no way it's possible in 8 weeks, like let's not do that. Like maybe your goal is like, I'm going to save $50,000 in 8 weeks, but like you make $50,000 a year. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it might be too far of a stretch. So we need it to be realistic. Okay. There's got to be accountability. Now, part of this accountability is you. All accountability is self-accountability. We try to say like, well, you need an accountability group. Well, that's good. But ultimately, the person that you are being held accountable to is you, not anybody else. So all accountability starts with yourself. Part of this plan will work accountability into it, because we are going to evaluate every week and see if we did what we said we were going to do. Now, I'm a huge advocate for getting in a group of some sort and doing this with other people, because that really is the thing that's like, ooh, I know I got to show up and say I made this happen or I didn't. And there's power in that. The 5th rule is that it has to be time bound, which is already worked in because I've already told you what the time is. You have 8 weeks. Okay. So here's what this looks like. So this is if you were going to have 3 goals. So you would say, to ultimately live my vision for the period ending on June 30th, I will, so this is assuming you're going to start next week. I will, I didn't put mine in here. Grow the Dreaming Co. by 107 people by June 30th. To 107 people by June 30th. Okay, that's my goal. It's timely. It's a pretty big stretch, actually. I don't know how realistic it is. I'm pretty optimistic about it, but it's a stretch. It's positive. What were my other rules? And there's accountability and time in it, which we'll get there. Okay. You can have 3 things here. Like one of my other ones would be to ultimately live my vision for the period ending June 30th. I will create beautiful outdoor space at my home by following my plan. Some things, especially when you start looking at like your the fun things, it can be a little harder to be super specific, but we're going to get more specific in our actual week-to-week, day-to-day plan. Okay. I'm going to show you. So these are the goals you want to have. These are the things I'm going to grow in over the next 8 weeks. It might just be 1. That's totally fine. It might be up to 3. Also, okay. Not too much. It's okay. You are a complex person with lots of parts of your life. And if you want to grow in 3 areas, that's great. Okay. So now we're going to come up with the tactics. Tactic is, how are you going to make this happen? So if you're doing 3 areas, you're going to want to do this tactics brainstorm multiple times. And this is just a brainstorm. You're not committing to any of this. These are just ideas that may or may not work. You may or may want to put them in your final plan, but we're just coming up with ideas. So we're still going with mine. I want to grow the Dreaming Co. and more specifically to 107 people by June 30th. So I have that specific thing. So here's some of my brainstorms. I'm going to reach out to past members and tell them what's changed and how things have evolved since we've been around for months now. I want to book some speaking engagements. I want to focus on relationships. I want to create a survey that looks like the word curvey. I probably spelled that wrong. Create a workshop and lead generator. That's what I did last week. I want to create an open and closed door plan, meaning we are not open all the time and I'm not selling all the time. Some of this strategy and these tactics came out of those things that were negative for me when I wrote down my thought download. I don't want to sell all the time. I don't want to constantly be talking about it, even though I'm constantly living in it because I love it. But I don't want to have to feel like I'm selling it all the time, which is so I started researching other groups like this, like other paid communities and what people were doing. And a lot of people do an open closed door system. And I thought, okay, I'm going to create that. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to make it work. Anyways, these are some of the things I did. So this is what you need to do for your goal. What are some tactics to help you get there? These are just very broad ideas, okay? And let's say that you want to, let's say you have an idea for a business and you want to start a business in the next 8 weeks. You would be at a very, depending on where you're at in the process, you might just have ideas right now, and that's okay. So a lot of your tactics might be research based, or they might be mentorship based, or they might be accountability based. It just really depends on what you're growing towards. Let's say that you do want to get in shape, or you want to gain muscle. Like for me, I want to gain muscle back. I've lost a lot of muscle mass. I want to gain muscle back. And so I need to be specific about how I want to do that, but I can also be very general right now in my tactics brainstorm, because I may or may not take all those pieces and use them. Does that make sense? Okay. So once we have our brainstorm, the next step is we are going to create our intentional growth strategy. All right, so here's my goal. Create. Oh, yes. That's actually my goal. I was like, what? This doesn't make, what did I just say? My goal is to create an intentional growth strategy for the Dreaming Co. to have 107 members by June 30th. Okay. So part of my goal is about the strategy, because it's essentially like a little bit of a trial. Like I need to see if it works. So the strategy is part of the goal itself. So here's my tactics. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go in and start to add the tactics from your brainstorm that you're like, actually, I do want to do that. And then, and this is key, you're going to assign the week that they're due. This is kind of just like an example. I think that I think you would probably have more tactics than this. Also, I decided this morning I'm going to make a worksheet that goes along with this. And this is me all the time, creating something and I'm like, this how it can be better. It needs a worksheet, okay? It needs a worksheet where you can list out your tactics and the weeks that they're due. So I am going to make a worksheet that I'll send as a PDF to everybody that enrolled in the workshop, and I'll get it to you probably this week. The goal will be this week, because we start masterminds inside the Dreaming Co. next week, and so you need this. All right. So you would start listing out your tactics. And then this is a little bit of organization, right? I've got to look at, you might want to go back to this, and I would maybe cross some out and like, yeah, I don't know if that's really super vital right now. Or you might start to order them. Like, what would I need to do first? And that could be, so I would maybe put a number 1 or a number 2, So then when you go to your tactics, you start making a list of your tactics. Then you can put, okay, I'm going to do this week 1. I'm going to do this week 2, and I'm going to do the, etc. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. I have a cup of coffee in front of me, but it's cold now. I'm not going to pick it up, even though I kind of want to. It's actually probably not cold enough to feel cold. Okay, tactics. Here is another example. This one I used my Cultivate the Gardens in the outside space in our home. Same thing. Here's a tactics brainstorm. Oh, nope, I didn't finish this. Don't look at that. Oh, this one didn't get updated. This was that old one. Don't look at that. So I would do the same thing though. I'd take my brainstorm and then I would start to outline my tactics, right? So first things first, I need to finish cleaning out the back bed by my master bedroom. Okay, I'm going to do that week 1. Then I'm going to clean out these other beds. I'm going to do that week 2. And then I'm basically creating a plan, right, for how I'm going to make this happen in the next 8 weeks. Okay. Now, questions, comments, concerns. Are so easy today. Or maybe this is like too easy and you're like, duh, we already know how to do this. Okay, you ready for the next step? No. Tiffany says no, I'm not ready for the next step. Did you ask me a question in the chat that I can't see? if you choose multiple things, can you focus on one per week? Oh, like if you choose multiple areas to grow, like you want to have multiple goals, you could if you want to. It's actually a great tactic. This entire really like plan is centered around the book, The 12-Week Year. I read it probably like 15 years ago. Maybe not that long. And I just, it works so well, because here's what happens. We all like say, the new year comes and there's nothing magical about it, right? But it's like we have all these ideas and all these ways we're going to change, and then it's like you have the whole year to do it, right? Like this year I'm going to do. And so what happens is, because it's such a broad scope of time, like that, we're like, oh, like just I'll stop drinking later, or I'll work on my finances later, or I'll whatever, right? Or I'll start reading for pleasure later. But when we put a very shortened amount of time around something, it forces us into action if we have a plan, right? If I don't have a plan, if I don't have tactics and I don't assign them weeks, I can still say that I want that to be my goal, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen, because I haven't said how I'm going to do it, right? So this is really the key to this, is that we're really, I don't want to say strictly, because there's actually some leeway in here, and we'll talk about that in a minute when we get to scoring. But we're creating a system of tactics and things to do and accountability. We're taking something that might seem very big and broad and overwhelming, and we're breaking it down. When I stopped drinking last fall, I didn't know if I didn't want to not drink forever, or if I just wanted to not drink for a little while. I just knew that I was walking through something very hard, and that if I didn't stop, that I wouldn't process and grieve. So, but I will say that one of the things that almost held me up was this very big decision of like, well, are you never going to drink again? And so one of my very first steps was I just started researching like sober-ish, like it's a phrase. It's like a thing in the sobriety world. And I was like, what is this? And it's basically that middle space of like, I don't know if I want to drink, don't want to ever drink again, or whatever. And so I just started, and then I started finding podcasts and started listening to people. And honestly, what so many people said is like, you don't really need to go cold turkey. You actually just need to learn about the effects of alcohol on your body and your mind first. And it's almost enough in that alone to go, oh, geez, what the heck am I doing? So it's more like I just need a first step somewhere. And that's what we're working on right now, is what is the first step? And so much of it might just be education about something. Maybe the reason you're screwing up your finances is because you've never learned about how to do it. Most people aren't taught personal finance, and we wonder why everybody is broke and doesn't manage their budget, right? Which we didn't learn about it. So sometimes the first step here is what do you need to learn about first? But that needs to be part of the step. And then there needs to be an action plan after that, is really what I'm getting at. Is like, we've got to step by step methodically continue down the path. And that's what helps. I got off on a whole tangent. So sorry, Tiffany. I hope I answered your question, but yes, you can choose multiple things that you can focus on. You can do one a week if you want to. Okay. Cassie said, isn't too easy. It's helping my brain actually put structure to what I need to do to feel calm, and that my big dreams are in fact achievable. And that is really the whole point, is that we're taking a big, beautiful thing and an idea you have and making it more doable. And that's what I want to really reiterate, like drive home today, is like, it might just be an idea at this point. It might just be you going, I know I need more community in my life. What does that look like? Okay. It might just be research in the beginning, but then there have to be steps after that. So, okay, let's look at what's next. Are you ready for what's next? This is where it happens. If I can find the button. I lost my screen. That's my PowerPoint on it, and therefore I can't control it. I really don't know where it is. I'm not it. Where'd it go? Oh, it's right here. It's in the same thing. Okay, gosh, you guys. Listen, I can figure this out. Anybody can do it. Okay. Nope, we're going this way. All right. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road, as they say. Here is what makes all the difference. We can't come up with a plan and say, I'm going to do this the first week and this the second week and this the third week, and then not make time to do those things. So this is really sort of this is the kicker in all of it. You're going to create 3 different time blocks. One of them is going to be a strategic block. In that strategic block, it is a 3-hour block of uninterrupted time scheduled in advance to do the thing you said you were going to do this week. So for example, mine might be, how do I get over there to let Rochelle in? You guys admit. Okay, let's go back to my garden. Let's say that I really want, I want it. I want it for my heart and for my soul. I want it to be beautiful back there. Okay, but I have to have a schedule of time to do it. If I said I'm spending 3 hours on a Wednesday afternoon in that garden, and here's what I'm doing, tactic number 1, cleaning out this back bed. Look, I've scheduled the time. I'm going to make it happen. Okay. You're going to find the time to schedule a 3-hour block. Why 3 hours? 3 hours is enough time. And especially if you're doing something creative, if you're writing content, if you're, or even if like you're reading a book or you're learning embroidery, sometimes we don't give ourselves enough space to actually sit down and learn a new skill. Okay. So it might just be you're learning a new skill and you're getting stronger at something. It might be that you just really need a block of time to get something done, like clean out a garden bed. Let's say, like, what if it's about like my fitness? How do I really need a 3-hour block? You might. So one of the things you might need to do in your 3-hour block is create your meal plan for the week. Food, you can't outwork your fork, y'all. That's where a lot of people mess up, is like, I might be working out, but I'm not seeing results. And it's because I'm still eating 3, Reese's peanut butter cups that came out of the kids' Easter basket. Like that's what happens. So maybe it's that, maybe it's being accountable to tracking your food, if that's what you're doing, or creating your workout plan for the week. Sometimes in your strategic block, you need to be planning your other times. Like, I need to very intentionally figure out what I'm making for dinner this week, what I am when I'm working out. And then maybe I need to spend an hour of that really at the gym, learning new machines or walking for 45 minutes or whatever. You get what I'm saying. Okay. Then you need buffer blocks. What's a buffer block? You guys, this really has been so game changer for me. Buffer blocks are it's like a designated time every day that it's just like it's your buffer time. It's when you get to deal with all the other things that were unplanned. Okay. So this is when, like, and let me just say this as a caveat. As a mom, sometimes we are not in control of our time because we get called to go pick up a sick kid or whatever. I know all those things. Those aren't, but we're not on the excuse train right now. We're on the intentional train of we're making a plan. So buffer blocks are the space of time when I need to deal with all the unplanned things that come up. Last night, Addie came to me and she said, Mom, I really need to, will you please sit down and help me with this scholarship application tomorrow? It's really long. I'm intimidated by it, whatever. Okay. I had not planned on that this week. I did not have margin in my calendar for it, except I have a buffer block. And so I told her, I said, okay, tomorrow afternoon, let's sit down when you get home from school. And my buffer block is typically, the 30 minutes before I go pick up kids from school. This can be any amount of time. Some people need 30 minutes. Some people might need an hour of a buffer block. But it is that thing, it's that space and time when something comes up, like a bill you didn't know you had to pay, or an errand you didn't know you needed to run, or a kid that needs help that you didn't, whatever, okay? This is that time when you're making sure, like, oh, I do have margin for that. So, and here's the deal. Don't think like, well, I said it was going to be 3:30 to 4:30 every day. But I need to, no, it's a space of margin and buffering to get those extra things done. If you do have a very office-based, like you do a lot of office-y work, it might be very scheduled and routine. And every day at 3:30, you go back and respond to those emails that you didn't know you were getting or whatever it is. Okay. Does that make sense? The third piece of time I want you to schedule in is called a dreamer date. So inside the Dreaming Co., at some point when they get to their journal prompts, they have to learn about a dreamer date, and take themselves on a dreamer date. What's a dreamer date? We sometimes get so sucked into progress and achievement that we don't have time for our brain to just be. And it's really, really, and especially now with social media, where sometimes our like downtime is scrolling, it's not serving you. And this is not a hate on social media. Like I understand what it is and why we need it, and there's good to it. I get that too. But this is time for your brain to sort of recharge. So a dreamer date is, when I explain it to you, you're going to go, well, that's selfish and I don't have time for that. You might think that. What it will do to you is so drastically amazing. Dreamer date is a designated time each week when you go and you do something just for you. Let me give you some examples. My dreamer dates often consist of wandering in the bookstore. Like, I'll just go and buy a cup of cinnamon tea and walk around. Today, on a day like today when it's raining, it would be like the perfect dreamer date. Like, and I have no intention to buy anything. I'm not looking for anything. I'm literally just wandering, like letting my mind wander, ending up wherever I end up. Sometimes I end up in the records. Sometimes I end up in the cookbooks. Like, I don't know. I'm just curious and wandering. Some of you are like, I would hate that. This is why it's your dreamer date. You decide what you want to do. Sometimes my dreamer dates are hiking. I love to go hiking. And it's really like, I'm going to go spend 30 minutes hiking and I'm not taking my phone and I'm not whatever. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not going to listen to anything. I'm just going to be. I also really love to wander in antique shops. Maybe your dreamer date is, Rochelle's had some good dreamer dates lately. I know that she went out and took her book and went out by a waterfall because she lives in the most beautiful place ever, like, and just sat and read for 2 hours or whatever. You have to fight for dreamer dates, meaning like you have to carve out time and make them happen. But here's what we're doing. This entire thing is we're being strategic about the time that we have and the things that we're doing with the time that we have. The amount of time we waste in a day is ridiculous. If you ever did a time audit, like, you would be like, wow, I pretty much actually did nothing, though it felt like I did everything. And so when we can become more strategic about how we spend our time, we become more strategic about what we get done. And that's where the power comes. So dreamer dates are helpful and life-giving because they're recharging you back up. Does that make sense? Okay. We're almost done. Of course, I lost my thing again to go on the next slide. Here we go. All right. Here's your routine for every single week. Plan your week. Don't go it alone. And then score your week. How do I score my week? So to score our week, we go back to our tactics list. Really, in my mind, like, I think this is more, and I will make you a worksheet. Oh, wow. I really like I hadn't planned on doing this. But in my mind, my tactics worksheet's going to look more like this, like a legal pad with, here's the goal, big and bold, here's the date, by 6/30/25. And then I would do my tactics, and then I would do my week due. And then I'd make me a chart like this. I'll send you I'll make you a worksheet. But you're going to score yourself by going back and evaluating every single week. Did I do what I said I was going to do? If it didn't get done week 1, then we have to go back and get it done. You have to reschedule. The goal is not perfection, okay? Because if we are focused on perfection, we're never going to get anywhere. The goal is 85%. So here's an example. Like, let's say one of your tactics for weight loss was, I'm going to track my food intake. Like, I'm going to use my Fitness Pal or whatever. I'm going to track my calories. I'm going to track my calories every day. Like, so maybe that's the goal. So you just need 85% of that. So I don't know what 85% of it is, but let's say I don't have my calculator. Don't know where it is. I'm not even going to pretend to do math. Let's say it was 10 days. Then you need to have tracked 8.5 of them, right? Like, out of the week. I know that's a really awful, but that's the best math I can do, y'all. But you're just going for 85%. What happens sometimes is we set a goal, we make a plan, and then we miss the plan the first week, or we don't get perfection. And so we're like, screw it, what's the point? Nope. No, we're going back to what our thought download was, right? Our thought produces the feeling, which produces the action, which produces the outcome, which is why that positive thought, wherever it is, this intentional thought cycle is so vital. Okay. But we're only going for 85%. We're not going for 100. Okay. That's unrealistic and it's just not going to happen. We're looking for positive growth forward and positive movement. And then we're also providing accountability. So every single week, we have to plan the week, make sure that you're being accountable to somebody, and then you score your week. Okay. Then if I'm going like, shoot, I totally missed this tactic, this thing that I was going to do this week that really I can't do anything else until I get it done. Well, I've got to then sit and make a plan to do it the second week, right? This is how we make progress. And because we're only working in an 8-week time frame, it's forcing you to very quickly go, shoot, I made progress or I didn't make progress. I made progress or I didn't make progress, and reevaluate. I used to teach this similar concept when I talked about earning incentive trips. Is like, you shoot for 5 months, not 6. And if you said you were going to do whatever in this first month and you don't hit that, well, then whatever didn't get done the first month has to move to the second month, or the goal doesn't happen. And that's why the evaluation part, the scoring each week, is so important. So inside the Dreaming Co., we are, first of all, how many of you are in here that aren't in there? Nobody. You're all in there. Almost all of you. Almost all of you. So, but inside the Dreaming Co., one of the things that we are going to do, first of all, we're doing free masterminds for this round only for the next 8 weeks. So we start the first week of May into June, and I am a scheduling frenzied person. I just want you to know, like, I'm very happy about it, but you guys should see it's like a poster board I have with all your availability times, and I'm putting groups together. And it's lovely. It's like a project, and I like it. So we're working around everybody's time schedule, making it happen. But part of the don't go it alone is that this 8-week plan will be exactly what we use inside our mastermind groups. And it will be exactly the evaluation that you share each week. You're going to tell us if you hit your tactics for the week and if you didn't. And we're also going to work through our thought downloads. We're going to look at that positive thought, intentional thought cycle, and make sure that we're continuing to speak those words of growth over each other and making sure that we're moving forward. Okay. Questions? Comments? Are you excited? How do I stop sharing? Hold on. I don't want to manage recording. I want to stop sharing. Stop presenting. There we go. There we go. Is this helpful? Or did I confuse? Or did I confuse?
This feels really manageable. And I also love that we can
That we can what, Kendra? What'd you say?
That we can do more than one thing at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I am like always it's just my personality too, is like, oh, all the things that I can make better. But sometimes that gets overwhelming, but also being able to work on growth in multiple areas. That's why that when we look at the block timing, where we're looking at your strategic block, that's really valuable. So like for me, I'm going to put strategic blocks, like the 2 big goals I know I'm going to work on over the 8 weeks are really my garden and making sure I have a really good growth plan for the Dreaming Co. that feels good to me. So I'm going to have a 3-hour strategic block where I know I'm putting my phone on do not disturb. I am not looking at my emails. I am not getting on social media. I am not doing any of those things. I am strictly working on whatever tactics were big for that area of growth right then, right, for the Dreaming Co. But I'm also going to have a 3-hour strategic block for the garden because they're different things, right? And it's not that I'm spending 6 hours of my week grinding at a goal, even though I sort of kind of am. I hope that makes sense. But Tiffany, our groups are going to meet every other week. It's a really good flow. So we will meet, you'll either meet the first or second week of June. It'll depend on when your group lands, and then you'll meet every other week. We can also do some accountability. I think it actually would be very helpful for everybody in the group just to do a check-in via text. Hey, how did your tactics for the week go? How'd you score yourself? Because that accountability helps as well. And we can do that. Kim, this is taking my overwhelm to actionable and doable steps. Susan said, I'm so excited. I have a lot of loose ends, but I know it's one bite at a time. And that's really why this system works, is because it breaks down what I said are these big, beautiful dreams and goals you have, and it raises them back down and kind of, says, okay, but one step at a time, and it feels more doable. And because we're starting with our mind, we can't skip that step. That our thoughts essentially drive every action that we take. And what's cool about it is, as you prove to yourself you can do the thing you said you did, you move up on the emotional scale from frustrated to more hopeful to you're moving up. And because you're proving to yourself, your identity is literally changing as you do this. Chrissy, what you got?
So my Enneagram 2 is coming out really strong, to where I feel like my life is such a hot mess that I don't know what to focus on at this time and what's most important. So here I am thinking, wow, how can I help her grow this program, and how can I help her grow? So I'm struggling trying to figure out what I can do, because it's easier to help somebody else than it is to grow yourself.
Yeah. So, I think it's going back, Chrissy, to that list. When you look at, did you come on a little bit late?
No. A little bit. Yeah.
In the beginning, we did an evaluation. Basically, we went through an I want list, and then I went through and made everybody rate different areas of their lives from 1 to 10. So like your relationships, your finances, your work, your recreation, and then those areas. So when you go back and watch this recording, I think that might help you identify the places to start, because you can look at the areas you scored low and say, okay, that feels like the most important right now, or these 3 feel like the most important right now. And when you're feeling that sense of overwhelm come in, it's really important to go, okay, I can't fix everything right now, but this is what I can focus on fixing. So it's just choosing to say, I'm going to narrow down, because if you continue to be overwhelmed by everything, you're not going to make progress on anything, right? So we've got to narrow down first. And I think when you watch that part and do that part, it should help you identify, okay, this is what's most important for the next 2 months and where I want to grow.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Cassie.
Yes, so I'm very excited about this because I'm a high perceiver on the Myers-Briggs, so I'm a go with the flow, fly by the seat of my pants kind of girl, which has served me well, except I usually jump in. I'm thinking about my finances and my business right now. And I usually jump in with 2 feet, like all the way in the water. And then I look back and I'm like, crap, I forgot step 2 through 5. And so I've never encountered this, like the way that you framed this just really makes my brain happy and can really help me feel like it's attainable and not overwhelming of like, okay, I have to jump from where I am now to like all the way to my goal. And I've failed at some things, which is good. And I've learned, but that mindset is what's stopping me sometimes, because I'm like, well, I failed last time, or it didn't work the way I wanted it to, but I was missing those steps that you talk about. Like I was missing the planning and the accountability each week.
Yeah. And
so I think this is just wonderful. I'm very excited. So thank you.
You're welcome. I love to hear others. So I'm an INFJ on the Myers-Briggs. My husband is an ENFP, and he just started a business last week. He started his own roofing company. I'm super proud of him. But I am watching him spiral a little bit into that, exactly like what you're talking about. And it's because he's not as good at basically this. And I was just telling him this morning, like, babe, here's what I need you to do. We're going to sit down. And I just said, we're doing this exact thing with him, because it can work for anybody, in any phase of life. And so I'm glad to hear that it's making things feel better in your brain, because, I'm just watching him struggle with that. I'm like, okay, we can fix this. Here's a plan.
I totally feel his pain.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Anything else that you're like, I don't really know?
Okay, just to clarify.
I have a question real quick.
Okay, Kendra and then Rochelle.
So just to clarify that we're doing a solid 3 hours, not 3 separate hours.
Yes, the goal is
Okay.
a 3-hour block.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. Which I know sometimes is super challenging, but I think once you do it 1 week, you will be like, holy cow. And the key, and I don't know if I really drove this home enough, is that it's you make the list of exactly what you're working on that is very tied to the tactic or the strategic thing you're working towards. And you put your phone on do not disturb, and within reason, all the things like you do not pick up, you don't get on social media, you don't go start a little laundry. You are like, I'm in it. I think once you do it, you're going to be like, holy cow, I got so much done. And it's because we don't realize how multi-brained we are being most of the times, especially as moms. Like, you're trying to do 15 things at one time. And when we do 15 things at one time, we don't do any one thing great. So it's really that strategic block of time. That's why it's that 3 hours. You're just going to be fascinated. Like, I can't believe I got all that done. It's really, it's transformational. And what happens then is it bleeds over into everything else, because you feel like I did this like thing. I feel so good about what I did. And it frees your brain space to like do all the other things. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, Rochelle.
So I came in late, and I'm just wondering how soon your replay is going to be available, because I want to start my May schedule off using this framework.
Yeah, it's going to be as soon as, I usually get it in my inbox within an hour, and then I'll upload it. It'll be today. It'll be
Okay.
very soon.
Alrighty. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, I hope if you still have a question, feel free to ask. But just a couple things in closing. We are, if you are not yet in the Dreaming Co., if you're watching this recording, we are actually going to leave the doors open. I decided I'm going to leave them open until Friday. I was going to close them on the 30th, but I'm going to leave it open until Friday. And tomorrow I am going to do a live on social media. I do not know what time yet. And I'm going to announce retreat dates tomorrow. So 2 things. We're going to do a summer retreat in the US, and we are going to do a fall retreat in Mexico. I also already scheduled out, which if you're inside, you know this, I already scheduled out our entire schedule for next year, because I use this exact framework to create a plan that felt really good to me. So I kind of put a cycle in place of like when I'm opening the doors, when I'm going to do workshops, when our retreat schedule will be, like when we're going to start our coaching and community leader certification stuff. Like it feels good to have a plan that feels good to me. And so I already have it all planned out, and I'm super, super excited. But the thing I need you to know is inside the Dreaming Co., the price to go on retreat will be drastically discounted to as opposed to those who aren't. So we're going to, for this first round, I am going to, as long as we don't sell out, like Dreaming Co. people will have first registration rights. And if we just blow it out of the water, then nobody else will get to come. But if not, we are going to let people who are not yet inside the Dreaming Co. come on retreat with us and do all the growth things that we do and be in community for the time being. So it's just something to know. All that information is going to come tomorrow. What else? Oh, and lastly, we are doing a free round of masterminds for the next 8 weeks. It'll be May and June. It'll be the only time that it is free. From then on, it will be part of our program called Dreamers and Doers that will run every quarter for an additional cost for people that are inside the Dreaming Co. So it's just a great opportunity to really utilize this plan, get the accountability, see how well it works. And I'm super excited. So anybody that comes in by Friday into the Dreaming Co. so that's I actually don't know what date that is. Yes, I do. It's the 2nd of May. Anybody who comes in by May 2nd gets the opportunity to be a part of that. So we just have a free 7-day trial right now. It will go away when we close the doors. So just so you know, like, that's what it is. Okay, I saw one more thing. I saw another question, and I don't know what happened to my current struggle is knowing that I only have one day that I could do a 3-hour block and often get that time taken away due to my husband's schedule. How do I keep that from being a mind block? So first of all, it's powerful that you recognize that it is a mind block. The second thing is, I think that anything, because the reality is, depending on your stage of life and the stage of life of your children, you might have to be creative. Like you might have to stay up late one night and get your 3-hour strategic block in. You might have to, I first of all would take away that it often gets taken away due to your husband's schedule. Like, get rid of that, even though I realize that that's reality. But like, right now you're using that as a block to say, like, it's probably not going to happen. So thoughts become things, right? So instead, if that's the time block it can be, let that be the time block. But the other thing is, like, you might have to be creative. It might have to be at nap time. And the biggest part of it is, if you just can't get 3 hours, you just can't get 3 hours, and you get what you can take. Anything is better than nothing. So maybe it's 2 hours, like you have to figure out what's going to work best and guard it as best you can. Does that help? Don't let the season of your life that you're in be the thing that stops you from growing, because like you said, like, I don't want that to be a mind blocker, an excuse. So recognize that for what it is and reframe it however you can. Okay, good. Okay. Well, I love you guys. I hope that you have an awesome, awesome day. And I hope that this really just spurs you on. I can't wait to see your plans. We are going to be sharing your plans inside the Dreaming Co. I am also about to sit and make a workshop or make a worksheet for you that I'm going to send out with the recording, because I just can't help myself. Like, just needs a worksheet. Okay. Well, I love you guys. I hope this was helpful. I'm super excited. Like, I cannot wait to start. And so I hope that you are too. Group times will be posted. So I kind of have a little bit of an outline right now. And I think for the most part, I have enough variety in times and days, and I've been able to work so far. I think there's like 18 of you in groups that so far I've been able to get everybody in a time frame that they told me they were available. So I will probably end up posting them. Realistically, I will not, because tomorrow I'm announcing a retreat. I'm going to work on that worksheet today. It'll probably be Thursday, or realistically Friday. I might try to get dates and times out Thursday. So just so you know, that's kind of what we're working on. Okay. Love you guys. Have a great Tuesday, and you'll see a worksheet and a recording from me really soon. I actually will probably send the recording before the worksheet's done, just so those of you that are like itching to start to rewatch, you can. Okay. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me. I love seeing your faces, and I'll talk to you later. Oh, I did want to manage the recording. Okay. There we go.